From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 things of the week that make us go wow. I am Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined by my inestimable co-hosts, Tom Campbell, our Chief Creative Officer.
How you do?
And the legendary James St. James.
How are you?
I am very well, thank you. This is our 399th episode.
That's insane.
It is. And so to celebrate, we have not one, but two very special guests. All will be revealed. But first, let's begin with our first guest at number 10.
Number 10.
I want you to welcome Lisa Ferri, who... Hey, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi, I'm so honored to be here.
You are an Emmy-winning journalist, Diane Sawyer's longtime producer and writer. You were, of course, on the front lines of the most disastrous period in American history, beginning in, 2017, when a certain someone was, I'm not even going to say what he was, but...
In the Oval Office, residing in the White House.
You were there taking notes. And, of course, you're currently with MSNBC, Deadline White House with Nicole. And at this very moment, these very days, you are and have been in the Trump trial every single day.
I sure have.
Sideline of history. Goodness.
Thank you. I'm very tired, so you'll notice the bags under my eyes because part of witnessing this particular history means getting up at ungodly hours and waiting outside 100 Center Street this morning I was there at 5:30.
Wow.
Now, are you so tired that you're sleeping in court and farting while you sleep?
No, that's someone else.
Phew, I'm glad we cleared that up.
And what is it like actually sitting in the same room as that sort of radioactive POS? Like, it must do a number on you.
Well, to be clear, this is how it's organized. So there's the courtroom, where you're in the room with the judge, Judge Merchan, who's incredible. I like to describe him as sort of biblically kind. And before we get too far down the road, I would say that it is a travesty and such a shame that there aren't cameras in this courtroom and that you can't hear the audio, at least, because if the American public could see how incredible this judge is, he's almost like straight out of central casting, what you want a judge to be in terms of he doesn't raise his voice. He's got this incredible bond with the jury. He's very calm. So on the days that you're in the court, there's former President Trump with his legal team on one side. On the other side are the prosecutors from District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office. You've got the witnesses, you've got the jury. And that's a super restrictive thing, actually, because you can't touch your phone. You can't have your phone out. You can take notes on your laptop. But if your laptop dies, you are kind of out of luck. And then the other room is the overflow room. And I've spent one day in court and the rest of my time in the overflow room. And in many ways, I actually would argue that the overflow room is a bit better as a journalist. I'm not a sports girl, but it's been likened to if you go to a football game and you have seats near the goal posts, that's one view of the game, but in many ways a better view of the game. Or let's say Madonna. Like, yes, it's nice to be close to the stage, but
now you're
also,
talking my language. Now I understand.
You have the giant screen, you can really see everything in high def. And so in the overflow room, you can talk, you can use your phone, you can charge your laptop if your laptop dies. But importantly, there are these enormous jumbotrons that you can see everything in high def. And one of the really interesting things, the power move, now that we're into the fourth week of this, is to get binoculars. So I should show you my binoculars, but I bought binoculars. And you sit and you're like you're in the opera or something, not that I go to the opera, and you can really zero in on what is he closing his eyes, what's the look of consternation on his face when different witnesses are up? Whereas you can't actually see everything you might want to see when you're in the court. So for instance, the day I was in the court, I was seated behind the sketch artist. And that was very interesting because she was sort of contorting herself into a pretzel because she couldn't quite see what she needed to see. And she was asking people around her, including myself, can you see? So I am in the overflow room, and I would say it is electric. I mean, for a nation that is sort of obsessed with Law and Order and true crime on Netflix, this is that. The prosecution has been so impressive. And again, it's something that I don't think translates in the transcripts. And who's reading all those transcripts anyway? It doesn't quite translate in the blogs that you're reading, or even on cable news, which is what I help make. That, and but by which I mean the pacing of the prosecution has blown me away. It's like brick by brick, they're building this case. By the end, you can almost feel all of the journalists on the edge of our seat just typing away. And sometimes when it's particularly dramatic, the tip, 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 tip of people typing gets almost deafening. You can almost measure how dramatic the moment is based on how much everyone's leaning forward and typing away. And it is like, if it weren't true, you would watch this on Netflix. You would pay a premium streaming service to binge watch this thing. So it has been very intense being there and getting there. And today you're waiting online 3 hours outside. Today it was raining. I wore ballet flats. That was a mistake, but it's worth it. And then when you're in there, you can't eat or drink. So it's a great diet. It's a great like intermittent fasting by design, by a la Legal Edition. But it's incredible. And I would say, for instance, the star witnesses thus far, we started with David Pecker, the National Enquirer publisher, who sort of walked in with this sort of big grandpa energy. And you're like, well, what's this going to be? And it was absolutely fascinating. And then it just kept going and going and going. And Stormy was absolutely incredible. I mean, whatever you thought Stormy was going to bring to that witness stand, she over-delivered. It was incredible. She was riveting. You can't get enough of her. And there was this, I mean, again, for a nation that's obsessed with Law and Order and with true crime and legal dramas, the standoff between Stormy Daniels over 2 days of cross-examination, where Susan Necklace, Trump's only female attorney, who's sort of, again, straight out of Central Casting, the showdown between the two of them. And Stormy really, it felt like Stormy really won that.
It sounds like the witnesses are really holding their own. Like Michael Cohen hasn't blown his top, right?
Absolutely, and that's an excellent point. So, every witness, and there's been one witness after another who's come forward and in some way trash talked Michael Cohen and rolled their eyes and been like, "Oh, he's not a real attorney," and "Oh, he was the guy who sat down the hall." Oh, eye roll, and talking about kind of what they didn't like him. And so they lowered the bar so much for the jury. And remember, there are 2 attorneys on the jury. It's 7 men, 5 women, and 2 attorneys. But the rest of them are just regular people. They're not attorneys. And so you're internalizing the information you're getting about the witnesses like regular people, like any of us would. And so there was so much Hope Hicks trash talked him. And when Michael Cohen finally walked in, he really showed up as the best version of himself. He was truly sorry. He was earnest. He was calm. And you could see, first of all, the prosecutors were incredible. Again, with him, it was brick by brick, one riveting detail after another. And one of the things they said in the very beginning was documents don't lie. The prosecutor said that in their opening statements. And you really feel that because Michael Cohen, you might not know how you feel about whether you can believe him. There is so much data. It's check and email and text, and it's woven together in this way that you're like, well, whether or not I believe him, documents don't lie, right? And another thing that they said during what's called the voir dire, where they're interviewing, both sides are interviewing witnesses, potential jurors to see who they want to put on the jury. They put this question to the jury, and I thought this was so interesting. They said, can you wrap your head around the fact that imagine you have a husband and he wants to put out a hit on his wife and he doesn't pull the trigger, but the hitman does. Can you wrap your brain around the fact that the husband should also go to jail? Because that is what the analogy that they're trying to say is here. Michael was, if you're going to use the mob analogy, Michael was the underboss. And they would have you believe that Trump was the boss, but the boss doesn't pull the trigger. He sends someone else in. And can you wrap your brain around that? And so when Michael got up there, it really felt like you were hearing from a man who was talking about his past sins but has paid, he was behind bars for 18 months. And he talks about that, and it was very compelling. Now, yesterday on cross-examination, I think the general consensus was that Trump's team sort of bombed. And the prosecution had built and built and built to this huge crescendo. And at the very end, and Michael does this really smart thing. He pivots. To his right is Trump. To his left is the jury. And he pivots and sort of talks right to the jury. And we don't know what the jury's thinking, but it feels like that's an effective and really human, relatable way to tell the story. And at the very end, the prosecutor, Sarah Hoffinger, who's excellent, said, "Do you regret what you did during your time with Donald Trump?" And he said, "Yeah, I do. I regret what I did to my family and to the voters who didn't have the full knowledge that they deserved to have before they cast their votes in 2016. And there was just this feeling in the room. It was sort of electric afterwards, like, boom, mic drop. And then they pivoted to the cross-examination. And it really felt yesterday like, even though they had a year to prepare for this, that the Trump team was not ready for their close-up. It was their turn to cross-examine Michael. I'll give you an example. There were just a lot of moments where they were getting like little things wrong, and Michael would be like, "Yes, sir. No, sir. I don't think that's accurate." "Well, if you say that's accurate." And it was very effective. It was very conversational, effective. And, essentially you're choosing who you believe and whose version of events you believe. Today was more complicated. Today, I would say the general consensus is that for the first time, Trump's team landed a punch and sort of bloodied Michael up a little bit. But what's interesting is next week is the whole ball game. Trump's team has said they only have an hour more with Michael. And then what happens is redirect. And that's when these prosecutors from the district attorney's office, who are so skilled, they have all weekend to study up and figure out how they're going to clean up what happened today, which was, Michael got kind of a black eye, a little bloody nose. So let's see if they can clean it up. And then Tuesday, we think we're getting closing arguments, and this jury might have this case so fast.
Oh my gosh.
Whipping through.
Well, I'm a little nervous now because you've built it up to be such a slam dunk.
You know what? I think, look, everybody feels that way, right? Because it's been one thing after another. Everyone had their hopes up for the Mueller report, and then that was sort of a little letdown. And the Jack Smith cases and the Fonnie Willis case may or may not.
And over and over again, yes.
Right. What I would say is that this is the little, what's the little engine that could? This is like the real redheaded stepchild of all the cases against him that nobody wanted to touch, that nobody believed in. And I think, again, it's all about expectations, right? I think a lot of us went in there being like, this case, okay, this is the case we're getting. And somebody said, someone on cable said, this is sort of in a way the case that we deserve as a nation, the case that most sort of takes us to like what was at the heart of the Trump administration the first time. It's a little icky. And the case is a little icky, and this is a kind of, it's apt. And so I think that a lot of people walked in being like, what is this going to be? And it has, in many ways, really over-delivered. And again, anybody who's thirsty or hungry for some kind of accountability, it's such a shame because this is its own form of accountability, just that it is happening. Just that every day, journalists like me and the free press, we line up and we are allowed in that courtroom and we have eyes on this thing, and that members of the public get to go. That is in of itself a victory for the rule of law and for democracy. Now, we might be in a different place in 4 or 8 years, but for now, this is actually very life affirming that this trial, despite what the former president might say about witnesses and jurors and the judge and the district attorney, all of the gag order stuff, despite all that, it is happening. And this judge has gone so above and beyond to protect the sanctity of this proceeding. And you really feel that. And you're like, that's good news for everybody, except that I'm one of the very few people who gets to see it every day with their own eyes. And that's such a shame, because I think that everybody who cares about democracy and about the nation and about the rule of law would,
you know what?
feel very good about this.
You have to, and I've said this to you before, you have to write a book about this, because I would read this book. Like,
I'm on the edge of my seat this whole time. Yeah,
really?
I'm riveted. Yes.
From the details to the larger takeaway, it's like it's absolutely compelling and fascinating, and
Thanks.
I can't wait for this manuscript.
I'm in awe of you, Lisa. I've known you for a little bit through Fenton. I'm in awe of you then, and I'm more in awe of you now. This was riveting. And
really?
by the way, you need to sell your book rights to the movie studios. Make a joint deal. Make a joint deal, because I want, like, it needs to be reenacted. For once, the movie needs to happen to tell us what really happened in truth.
I'm in.
And get people to lip sync the transcripts. That's the way to break it.
Well, just like that wonderful play that we saw where they lip sync the transcripts. What was that called? Reality Winner.
Yes.
And honestly, and the thing is, look, who's going to read a transcript? It's my job, and I don't read the transcript. I'm there. I'm so glad I have it in my, I've lived it. It's like, honestly, it's sort of changed me. I think it's changed all of us. Somebody else said something very interesting. Back in the day, at this point in an election year, it would be the boys on the bus, which meant all the male correspondents who were on the bus covering the campaign. Well, that doesn't exist now, because we're in a weird place. And so all of the journalists who would otherwise be covering the campaign, they're all in that courtroom, and we're all there every day. And there really aren't any special rules if you're a legendary. We're there next to legends like Maggie Haberman.
Yeah, what's the bathroom break like?
Well, it's fascinating. It's fascinating because, first of all, of course, like, there's a really long line for the women's bathroom because there aren't enough. And the bathrooms are like, it's a very old building. So all that, I have some thoughts about all the news and the reporting that was really cold. It was freezing. And then on a hot day, it's so hot because it's a really old building. And the bathrooms are like reminiscent of my public elementary school, and when it was very cold, one of the things you would do, you'd be like gathered around with like legendary journalists, and we'd be in the women's room, like warming our hands under the hot water because we're like, I'm going to lose a digit. I'm going to have an amputation. I'm going to lose digits to how cold it is. And look, much has been made about Trump closing his eyes or the former president perhaps sleeping. It is a very exhausting. I feel like of all of the criticisms, that's maybe the least valid or the most relatable. It is grueling. It is literally like an athletic event being in there. But it's really fascinating because whatever competitive feeling there might have been, I think in the beginning between all the journalists who were like, I want the scoop and I want the story. We're all in this together and we're all living through it together. And I've made some incredible friends. One of the things that's been absolutely fascinating, very unexpected for me is how many foreign journalists there are. And I've befriended multiple people from like Der Spiegel in Germany, Le Point in France. The German journalists, Europe is riveted by this, not just because what happens in this election has ramifications around the globe and certainly for Europe, but especially the German journalists have said, they have grandparents who remember World War II. They have grandparents who remember what was happening sort of anecdotally in their nation, in the 30s. And they see parallels. No matter what happens ultimately with us, there is a change happening.
We laugh at all this at our peril. We think it's all funny and silly at our peril. That's the parallel.
But this seismic shift that we all feel, that's sort of cracking us open, is something that really resonates with a lot of the German journalists who say, we know what this is. And this could go different ways. It's not certain it'll go one way, but it could go a lot of ways. And you guys are at a perilous point that we recognize. And so they were saying, I remember on day one, I was standing with my friend Mark from Der Spiegel, and he was saying every time I write a story about this trial and Donald Trump, it is the number one story on the website. It goes viral. There's so much interest. And so although the details of the case might seem tawdry or small, and for a long time this case has been talked about as though it's tiny, and in many ways it is. It's a narrow case. It's also big, and it's sort of being felt around the world.
Wow, that is like, I could talk to you all day. We're going to actually post a whole conversation on our YouTube channel, Wow Presents, or listen to the podcast version on Wow Podcast Network. Lisa, thank you so much. You have to come back.
I would love to. And next week's a big week, so let me know.
All right. Love you. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you.
All right. Oh, my God. All right. Number 9.
Number 9.
But I will just say, with all of the joy and giddiness that a person can have, I spent Monday evening in the live company of my idols. I went to the Bob Mackie documentary premiere of Naked Illusion, which is about Bob Mackie, the incredible costume designer, fashion designer. It was at the Directors Guild. There was a panel afterwards that RuPaul, who's part of the documentary, was invited to. That Carol Burnett, who's in the documentary, was invited to and was there. Who Cher, who is also in the documentary, was there. And Pink. There was a little mulling around before. I stay out of celebrities' ways. They don't need me, but got to be like inches away from Cher, and Carol Burnett was there. Vicki Lawrence was there. Just seeing them interact with Bob. Got to talk to Bob, who on RuPaul's Drag Race, he was our first ever judge, the first ever season. He's been back since. And last 2 seasons ago, we gave him the Giving Us Life Achievement Award. And we knew that the documentary was happening then, but it's finally come out. I don't know if it's got distribution yet, but you think as a gay man, I know Bob Mackie. I know Bob Mackie outfits. I know Cher. I know this, just the totality of his work, which is presented in sketches and flashes. Did you know he did all the Elton John outrageous 70 clothes?
Oh, no. Wow.
Because Elton was on a special with Cher and Bette Midler, and he was met.
I remember the bitch is back.
Yes. Of course he did Tina Turner. Of course he did Dinah Ross and Margaret. Mitzi Gaynor. They talk a lot about the Naked Illusion is that dress that Cher was on the cover of Time magazine wearing, and also went to the Met Gala years and years and years ago. But it was first ever done on Mitzi Gaynor, and she's in the documentary explaining that it's like nylons, a camisole, and the most sheer gauze known to man, and then just sparkles. And it's everything about it made me happy. And then the real story is a gay story, right? Because here's this queer guy who was drawing his whole life. His grandmother, who raised him largely, had to trick him to leave the house because he just wanted to draw and sketch and draw and sketch. The humor that he brought to the Carol Burnett's characters. Laverne for Cher, Went with the Wind, all those Mildred Fierce, all those movie parodies. That was from the mind and imagination of a queer boy who got to make his dreams come true. And we've all are smarter and blessed and happier and brighter because of it. But there's one scene that is mind-blowing, and I can't explain it to you other than just to tell you what it was, which is at one point, Bob's known for his incredible beadwork and his applique, and that he does it by hand, and then he places it on the fabric. He's like, I can't believe designers who drop off their sketches and pick up the dress. He goes, he's involved integrally in every design. And so you go to see where this happens. And we're in Glendale, and there's a suburban street, and there's a house, and you go down the alley beside the house, and you go into the garage, and there's this beautiful lady, Armenian woman, surrounded by her little army, and they're sitting there doing the applique work in the garage in Glendale. The things that are on, stages around the world, and they have lunch afterwards. They just shot them like, it's like takeout tins, as unglamorous as a shot as it could be. And they're just eating there. And she has so much pride in her work and such a shorthand with Bob, she's like, I know what he wants. He does it. I know what he wants. And at one point they're just sort of praising Bob about being a perfectionist or razzing him. He goes, there's nothing wrong with doing it right. And it becomes the tagline of the show, because it's not said pretentiously. It's like, well, there's nothing wrong in doing it right. Doing things right. Anyway, I don't know where you can see it, but I can't tell you how great it is.
I want to needle point that on a pillow in sequins or beads. Nothing wrong with doing it right. And he's 84, and in good health, right?
He's in good health. He's always been the cutest. A big thread through the whole thing is like when Cher met him, when Carol met him for the first time, it's like, who are you? It's like, I'm Bob Mackie. He always looked like he was 18 years old, even when he was 26, 27.
Oh my God. Nude Illusion. So that we'll all have the opportunity to see that soon. Number 8, James.
Number 8.
John Mulaney has a new talk show on Netflix called Everybody is in LA. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it. It is absolutely fascinating. It is very freewheeling, meta, nutty. Talk shows have sort of devolved into everybody's chasing the A-list. You know, everyone, it's just A-list star promoting their latest book, their album, the movie, and it's promotion. But this harkens back to a time like Johnny Carson, where you would have an A-list star, then you'd have like a George Burns or Anne Margaret or someone come on who's not really doing anything, but they're just friends and they come on and they just chat. Or you have a woman who finds a potato chip who looks like Fidel Castro, or like Jack Hanna from the San Diego Zoo.
From the zoo. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. This is that. He'll have someone who's an A-list star, but they aren't promoting anything. Nobody is promoting anything on the show. And every show is a theme about LA. There's earthquakes is a theme. Coyotes, palm trees is a whole episode. You'll have Elvira and Sarah Silverman and the lady from the La Brea Tar Pits come on and talk about haunted houses. And people call into the show, and he asked everyone what kind of car they drive. That's like the running joke of the, like
straight LA.
What kind of car do you drive? And it's so much fun. And I love John Mulaney. I just think he's adorable. And so I just want to give a shout out to this show. Everybody is in LA.
Quick question. Was this live originally? Were they done live?
It is. It's on Netflix. It's live. It premieres live so that the phone lines are open, and then afterwards it says the phone lines are closed, so you can't call it.
Between the roast, the Tom Brady roast, and this live, Netflix is really going to own live, which means it won't be long until the Oscars are on Netflix. Like everything's going to go there. I think that's where the world is going. Anyway,
I think you might be right.
I think we've probably talked about Netflix more than any other single thing on the Wow Report in its multi-year history. And rightfully so.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go. Let's take a break. Drag Queens Save the World tonight on Paramount Plus in the US. And of course, Wow Presents Plus worldwide.
All Stars 9.
8 returning queens, Tom, right? 200,000.
Yes. An incredible cast. They were paid, they came to play, and they came to play for whom? Other people. They each have a charity, but it's still a shady, there's not shady, but there's still competition. There's still, sisterly love, and the challenges, they're amazing. The challenges, it's an incredible cast. And you got to watch it on Wow Plus or Wow Presents Plus. All my pluses, I get a little confused.
Oh, here's Blake. Not plus a beard, without a beard. Looking gorgeous and baby-faced. I love this look.
Thank you. I hate it, so I'm.
I happen to know that Blake has signed an NDA and cannot disclose why he shaved, but you'll know better in January.
I think, Tom, in solidarity, you should shave your beard, and we should see what you look like without a beard.
Well, listen, I don't want to have to shave my head, so.
Thank you.
And James, you and I should grow a beard.
There you go.
Yeah. I was actually preparing for our big 400th episode. I was going through old clips, and there was one time in like 2018 when we were still down in the window front when everyone had beards, even James. Maybe not
a beard. Yes.
I've never had a beard, so I must have been away that week. I've never had a beard.
You need a beard. You need at least once in your life. Yeah.
Oh no, it's so great. The thought of it makes me shudder. Do you have a question for us?
I do. This direct descendant of a major manufacturer of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning equipment is 59 today. He is mostly known nowadays for composing music for films, but he has a wild past in rock and roll beginning in the 80s. Who is it?
We'll have the answer for you right after the break here on the Wow Report.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with James and Tom and Blake, of course.
I asked, this direct descendant of a major manufacturer of heating, ventilation, air conditioning equipment is 59 today.
That's the bit that gets me.
Yeah. He is now mostly known nowadays for composing music for films, but he has a wild past in rock and roll beginning in the 80s. Who is it?
Trent Reznor?
Yes!
Oh my
Trent
God!
Reznor, yes.
What?
Yeah, his like great uncle or something, maybe his grandfather. It's Reznor. It's on a lot of like air conditioning units in the Midwest. It's in Mercer, Pennsylvania. And
Did you
it's
know
been
that,
told-
Fenton, or were you just pulling it out of your ass?
It came right out of my ass, I have to tell you the truth.
Fenton never wins these. This is a big day.
That's incredible.
It was the film score thing. Because I was like, what pop stars do film score?
Exactly. It's
And
either him or Danny Elfman, right?
Or Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo.
Okay.
All right, we're counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow, we've reached number 7.
Number 7.
I'm too old to talk about this, but I'm not. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie have announced that they are reuniting to sort of bring back The Simple Life, to update it, and it's going to be on Peacock. Now, we had an amazing series on AOL and then on VH1, Candidly Nicole. And I got to know Nicole a little bit. I mean, they are the mothers of reality television. Yes. You know, like they were on network television, you know, and then, you know, Fox and then E. They sort of defined a generation. Your Kim Kardashians, your Lindsay Lohan, they all came through the portal of Nicole and Paris. And they were bad girls, you know. They were fun, and they're both moms. They're both incredibly successful businesswomen, designers, perfume performers. So it'll be interesting how they take this thing. The thing I realized, beyond a shadow of a doubt, when we were doing research, or VH1 was doing research about Nicole, you know, like, and we were actually in focus groups and sitting behind glasses, like women of a certain age who grew up with that show, like Nicole Richie is the Lucille Ball of their generation. Like, because she was so funny.
I was going to say they were like the Lucy and Ethel.
Yeah. They were just the funniest thing. And again, we were a little bit old. We watched it, but like, if that was your first exposure, post Real World, you know, before the reality blitz that we live in now, it was The Simple Life. And it'll be tricky to see. And I'm rooting for them to see how they're going to translate this to their adult life and those current sensibilities, you know?
I heard that it wasn't The Simple Life, that it was something different, but it's not scripted.
Right, which makes you listen, and they're very clever. I want to see what they bring, but you know, it will inevitably have some kind of there'll be some kind of comparison.
And
this is the best news of the week for me.
I love the trailer, like just like a TV with your bzzz, and you get like an echo of it. And I think they were both in some ways not mischaracterized, but sort of underestimated when that
definitely underestimated. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because
I want to see that era were kind of put down and made fun of. And listen, they had their troubles and things, but you know, so did boys and so did men. And you know, I love them. I wish them the best. I can't wait to see.
You can't have a 25-year career and you know not be a dingbat. It's just, I mean, they are smart cookies. They really know what they're doing, and they're funny, and I love them to death. I
agree with you. I'm 1,000%. And then almost like like a fine wine or something. They needed this time to be mother to just have a. Let's hope it's a reevaluation and
and there was a rift, we were told, and that they're coming together again gives hope for all of us, right?
There you go. I love that. Congratulations. All right, number 6, James.
Number 6.
First of all, the big news is that the orcas are back. I don't know if you've been paying attention. The orcas, you know, the last couple of years have been attacking ships
in the Gibraltar Straits.
Yes, exactly. You know, are they being playful? Are they trying to kill people? Are they evil? Are they having fun? Are they aliens?
Can't they be all those things, James? Do we have to pick one? Can't they be all those things?
Well, I wonder if there's a bigger story, if this is just the beginning of the conquest of the planet of the orcas. You know, I mean, I don't know what's going on, but I just, you know, stay tuned.
I hardly know her.
The Wicked trailer dropped. I know, Tom. Have you seen it a million times? Have you watched it 100,000
I have
times?
passed it on my feed. I haven't had it. I've been so busy. I haven't been in a place where I can watch it.
I'm a cynic, but watching it, there was a behind the scenes trailer that dropped the day before, and both of them just gave me chills. It looks so brilliantly done. It looks so good. Everything about it is just spot on, perfect. I'm still on the fence about it being separated into two movies. You know, you're going to have to Defying Gravity. Cut to, you have to wait for another year.
Maybe your bladder will thank you, though, because you don't have to sit through a 4-hour movie.
But that is the peak of the show. Like, I don't know if you're going to be as excited about part 2 as you are about part 1, but everything about it looks really good. J-Lo and Ben Affleck look like they're headed for divorce. People are saying that it's looking bad for them. They're in couples therapy, but they are not going to.
I just saw on TMZ he's living in an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Like he's been
sad.
spending the night there every night, coming and going.
It's been coming for a while, hasn't it? I mean,
well, she wouldn't be J-Lo without 19 husbands, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, you want to believe. And the last thing that I want to do, just very quickly, I want to give a shout out to our girl Jinx Monsoon, who is having a career high this month. Unbelievable work. First of all, she's the maestro on Doctor Who. She is chewing the scenery. She is absolutely fantastic. One of the best villains they've ever had on the show. She is so fantastic.
And there's a trailer and a behind the scenes of that I have watched, which made my heart fell because it was so, so amazing in it.
Yes, so amazing. She's also on Broadway in Little Shop of Horrors right now, and she did a podcast where she sang Somewhere That's Green. And
I saw that too.
Yeah. And
played it like 3 times in a row.
Goosebumps, crying. I mean, Ellen Green, of course, is the gold standard. She's up there with Ellen Green. She understands the character in a way that is so pure and true.
And makes it her own. It's not an impersonation.
Makes it her own.
And every word has a different meaning. You know, it really is powerful performance.
And so God bless Jinx Monsoon. I'm so proud of her. I love her so much. And she's making everyone so proud.
I love that. That's amazing. And actually, number 5. We had a soiree the other night at World of Wonder for the launch of Drag Me to the Movies. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the trailer. It's priceless. It is by Ron Hill and Jeff McCubbin, who are, of course, the unbelievable minds, the unparalleled geniuses, the unhinged creatives of they have done 8, yes, Jixie got it, and they have an amazing cast of 9 queens, and they've done 8 movie parodies like Verse Bottom Gun, Showgirls and Sensibility, The Wizard of Charisma, Uniqueness, Nerve, and Talent, A Star is Spawned, Silence of the Prada. I mean, I just love saying The Real Housewives of the Red Onion.
What was the first one again? Because I was like, wait, what's that a parody of? But it's Top Gun.
Verse Bottom Gun. Verse VERS BTN Gun. It's
wow.
These are I say stupid with the most possible. They are crazy. That sort of green screen orgies,
starring some of the most lovable and hilarious Drag Race queens, like a really eclectic group: Ginger Minge, Crystal Method, Jujubee, on and on and on.
James Mansfield, Jimbo, Diabetes, Shakula. I mean, they are absolutely incredible. So we had a do at the World of Wonder Gallery, and I believe none of us actually went, unfortunately. My excuse was that Nolan, my son, his first movie was premiering at Man's Chinese Theater. Pilgrim School did a little film festival. They started a film class about 2 years ago, and they had 30 films last night playing back to back to back. And I'm so proud of Nolan and his best friend Gavin and Wyatt, who really made a great film. And it's a drag movie. It's called Incognito. And not to give the whole story away, but his bestie gets transferred to an all-girls school, and she doesn't want to go. So she asks him to cover for her. And so he gets up in drag and goes off to school. It's like a Some Like It Hot of high school.
Great idea.
And humble brag. He won the best. They won the best film prize.
Oh my God!
Wow! That must be a dad's delight. You must be so bursting with pride.
Wow!
Honestly, I have to tell you, it is awesomely shot and directed and acted. I mean, real. I'm like, it's good. I'm done. I can retire. I'm like,
World of Wonder. It will be handed. He will be handed the keys to the office soon, and you will be kicked out on the curb.
I might not even make it through this show. He'll just burst through and be like, "You can go."
The first time I met Nolan, Fenton had just adopted and brought him. He was in swaddling clothes, and I was like, "Hi, boss. Nice to see you, boss. How's it going, boss?" I knew one day, and that day has come.
Well, congratulations, Nolan and Gavin and Wyatt.
Yes.
I mean, really, they did an amazing
Bravo.
Amazing job. All right, let's take one more break here on the Wow Report on Radio. Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We're counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. We have a special guest coming up, but first, we've reached number 4.
Number 4.
This is often the time that I take a moment to do a little rest in peace for somebody special who's left. I have a number of people to mention this week, and by jumping them together, it's not because they're not worthy of their own segment. It's just they're all worthy of being talked about in a timely way. First is Sam Rubin, a local entertainment reporter on Channel 5, if you're from LA. Broadcast last week, I think on Friday, and then after his morning broadcast, part of the morning show for years and years, passed away of a heart attack and left his teenage children and his wife, and his teenage son actually on Monday did a eulogy on air.
Oh my God, tears, sobs.
And what does Sam Rubin mean to everybody? We found out that he means a lot. No one had a bad word to say.
So beloved, so beloved.
In a town is blood curdling, as soulless, as just vicious as Hollywood is. He was one of the true, really good guys. Just a nice guy. One of the best that we had.
We could all hope to leave a legacy of just having made people happy.
Yeah.
Everyone from Morgan Fairchild to Tom Cruise to everybody came out and just had the best. It was just beautiful to see the love that he got. I hope he knew that he was that beloved.
Yeah, I hope he did too. Second, rest in peace to director producer Roger Corman, who again to talk about his career would take hours. But here's someone who, against all odds, against all convention, did it his own way, made films that were cheap and derided and stupid, including Little Shop of Horrors, the original thing. But by the way, he had incredible success. He always turned a profit. He created a genre that exists today. And the most important thing is he gave so many actors and directors, A-list, multimillionaires, their first break in the business. What a better legacy than to have built that bridge. And he was loved by Spielberg and everybody, the Avatar guy, everybody, and so many stars. I don't have my notes in front of me, but just blown away by his contribution. And in that way, which makes me think of World of Wonder, Fenton, of just doing it, just not following the rules and saying, I'm going to do it our way. It doesn't make any sense, saying this is not the way you do it, and do it anyway and leave your mark on this world. And so rest in peace, Roger Corman. And then this is an obscure one, but there was and I read this in the New York Times. I didn't know about this person until her passing, which is why I love the obituary sometimes. An ad executive, Mary Wells Jordan.
Oh, wow.
She was the first woman. She died at 92. She was the first woman to own her own agency in the 70s. Think of that. And before she owned her agency, she was responsible for things like Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. The Alka-Seltzer ad, which doubled sales. Why? Because they would put 2 Alka-Seltzers in the water instead of 1. And so sales doubled because everybody put 2 Alka-Seltzers in the water instead of 1. She also
wasn't she wasn't Peggy supposed to be her on Mad Men? Wasn't that sort of the idea?
Probably influenced, yes. And she also Braniff Air, the airline. She was hired to go, and she looked in the 60s, and she looked at the terminals, and she looked at the planes. She said it's like being in a in a hospital. It was just dull and gray and dingy. And so she had, for the first time, had the planes painted in Poochie colors, in these mod 60s colors, and she put all the flight attendants in Poochie. And she ended up, she met the president who hired her to do that. They ended up getting married and were together for ever and ever and ever. But those accomplishments mean nothing to when they wouldn't make her president at her ad agency in the 70s. So she started her own, again, a pioneer, just like bucking the trends. And she came up with a little campaign. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called I Love New York. I Heart New York. The song in the mid 70s, when New York was dead to this world, it was the idea of like, and the first one was Frank Langella as vampire going, I love New York, especially at night. I love New York. And it's still on every t-shirt. It's like the most successful campaign in history. So all to them. And I'm going to say, and we're not going to go on this, we're moving on to the next one, but my beloved cat Einstein, I put him down on Sunday on Mother's Day, and it was the right thing to do. And I had friends, Kevin and Bob, who came with me, and I won't get into it because I'll cry. It was the most beautiful thing because I just love our pets for teaching me how to feel and have some human moments.
Tom, it's the hardest thing to do, but to do that it's a really great thing to be able to do, even though it's incredibly hard. And oh my gosh, my heart goes out to you.
As they were putting him to sleep, this is my bad joke. As they were putting Einstein to sleep, and I had his head cradled in my hand, I was hoping, I hope someone does this to me when they put me out, because I want to be put out, people. I don't want to suffer.
The drugs do seem kind of nice, I have to say. Yes, they like number 3.
Number 3.
I was a guest on Yes, Jesus this week. Danny Francesi and Azariah Southworth's Queer Christian podcast. And I'm sort of an odd choice to be a guest, but I have an open mind about religion, and I study religion. I know religion. I have read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. I know my Bible stories. I think it's a shame that Christians have ruined Christianity, going back to, the Salem witch trials and the Spanish Inquisition and the MAGA people. I think that Christians are just horrible people, but Christianity itself is sort of fascinating. I went on the show because there was a couple stories of in the Bible. When I read it, I was reading it to see the contradictions, all the stories that don't make sense, and there's things that Luke contradicts Mark, and Mark contradicts James. It's fascinating to me. There are stories like Lot and Job that just I can't wrap my head around. But there was one particular story that I wanted to talk about, and it was Jesus and the madman of Gadarene. And the story goes like this. Jesus comes to the shores of this city, and there is a madman who is living in the cemetery, living in the tombs, and he's shackled, and he's naked, and he's cutting himself, and he's punching himself, and he throws himself at Jesus' feet, and he says, my name is Legion, because I have a legion of demons inside of me, 10,000 demons. Please, Jesus, get rid of the demons. Now, Jesus did not say you are schizophrenic and we should probably prescribe you lithium or whatever like that. Instead, he plays along with this, and he takes out his magic wand and he taps it on the guy's head, and he takes the 10,000 demons and he puts them into 10,000 pigs that are in a field nearby. Now, these poor pigs are not made to withstand demonic possession. These poor pigs, what did they do to deserve this? I'm so irritated with Jesus. Why are you fucking with the fucking pigs? And the pigs don't know what to do, so they throw themselves off a cliff. They throw themselves into a lake, and they drown. And you've killed 10,000 pigs for one man. Is one man worth 10,000 pigs? I don't know. It upsets me to no end. We talked about it. We unpeeled the onion. We kept going at it and going at it and going at it. And what we discovered, and this is so fascinating, is that it's kind of a metaphor for addiction. It's a metaphor for being, the demons that possess you, or the demons of alcohol or drugs, and you can take the story of this madman and finding the light in Jesus, and it's when you bottom out, and then Jesus. And as we were talking, the clarity of the story, suddenly it made so much sense to me that yes, that it is about addiction. And that's why I have been struggling with this story for so long, because of my own demons and my own addiction. And we were able to just have this amazing conversation about helping addicts and helping people to recovery and everything like that. And it wasn't what I went on there for. I didn't realize that was what the story was going to be. But just like, that's what they say about the Bible. You open it up and it will solve.
Dare I say, it was a little bit of a miracle.
It was a bit of a miracle, yes. So it was a fascinating conversation. It's on the Wow Presents podcast.
I'm excited to listen to that. How did you reconcile? But how about the pig bit that was so bothering you?
Well, the thing is at the time, I was worried about the farmer who was out of 10,000 pigs and how was he going to be renewed, but it was, we realized that pigs were unclean at that time in history. Nobody was eating pigs. So they were probably wild pigs. And who gives a fuck about wild pigs? Right?
And they fit the metaphor. They fit the metaphor.
They fit the metaphor, but also in that there's in demonology and things like that. Because I kept saying, why can't Jesus just cast them back to hell? But they have to go into someone or something. I don't know. I'm still a little irritated with Jesus, but
you're working through it. You're working through it.
I worked through it. Yeah.
Can't wait to listen to that episode. Is it up now already?
I think so. I think it's next week.
Okay, awesome. All right, just quickly, number two. The first coronation portrait of King Charles III was unveiled this past week at Buckingham Palace. And it has
your picture of Dorian Gray.
I mean, it's by artist Jonathan Yeo, and he's been painting it for 3 years. And I just very briefly, it's like a large portrait of him against a red background, dressed in red. So it's just his face is sort of emerging out of a sort of blood feast, really, right? It's like.
And does he look young or old? I haven't seen it.
If you put Melania's blood red Christmas trees around it, you've got it is the most horrifying, terrifying. When Charles unveils it, you see him jump back a little bit because he's so terrified.
Well, at least he kept his composure and didn't say anything, because it looks, Tom, it looks like a poster the internet has said it looks like a poster for a horror film. It looks like he's burning in hell or bathing in blood. I mean, it's pretty.
Someone else said that it's your Tupperware bowl when you put any pasta sauce in it. It's like immediately stained red.
And then the artist did comment that there's a butterfly over his shoulder, which is supposed to stand for his emergence from Prince of Wales and waiting to become transform into the king. Here's the thing, though: butterflies only live for a week or so. Like it doesn't.
But here's the interesting thing: if you put them side by side, if you double the exposure and you put it side by side, it in the middle of it you see Baphomet, I guess is the name, the horned devil god, emerges from the image.
It's another biblical character, right? Baphomet. Yeah. Oh wow! Oh, I see. Yes, because the butterfly, you flip.
And all of a sudden, there's horns and everything. Yeah,
things you need to get the demons from that portrait and put in some pigs.
Right.
Well, okay. What an amazing show. Still to come, we're going to take one more break. And when we come back, reveal our super duper special guest. And as it happens, the number one thing that made us go wow this week.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Tom and James and Blake. I'm so excited at number one to reveal our very special guest. I mean, not worthy. I mean, well, he's a doctor. Please meet Dr. Randy Barbato.
Number one.
Anyone need a prescription?
On Sunday
Sunday.
morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, on the Emerson campus in Boston, one of the most fraught political campuses happening right now because of what's going on. The differences stopped. The Red Seas parted. A light broke from the sky as Randy Barbato, the main commencement speaker for the class of 2024, gave a commencement speech that gagged me, that was funny, that was smart, that was emotional, that made me tear up and cry with tears of joy. And I it sounds like I'm taking credit. I'm so proud of Randy. I'm so proud to know you and to work with you. And you really did it. You fucking knocked it out of the park. There, I said it.
I think you're being over the top. My dad did cry as well. It was a really great experience. It was very terrifying leading up to it. Even the whole week leading up to it, I was very anxious because I wanted to say something that might be useful. So I really thought about it a lot. But it was really emotional for me because the kids who go to Emerson are amazing. Look, it attracts a special kind of person.
World of Wonder is a lot of the staff comes from Emerson. There's a lot of Emerson people. It is a very unique school in that sense. Yeah.
And it is a really crazy time to be graduating from college. And so being in that arena where there was all this energy and lots of people protesting and it was very loud, you just felt like this passion is our future.
It's a moment in history. It is a definite moment to stop and take a look around, and you were right there at ground zero.
Yeah.
Well, I loved when you said, just sort of global warming and the threat to, you listed off a few of the huge problems that face us, and you were very sincere when you said, and I know you guys can do this and you can fix this because you have to. I mean, I'm paraphrasing it in a terrible way that isn't going to make anyone cry, but it was really great. Randy, what was the theme? Can you share the theme and the twist, the surprise? Is that okay to
Yeah, that's okay. So the theme was Losing is the New Winning, which many people might know is a song. It's been before it was a song, it was a slogan at World of Wonder for a long time, from our first big loss at the Emmys. Well, actually from way before that.
Oh, you've been losing forever.
We've been losing forever. And so that was the theme and this, I did not make this up. Coincidentally, when I was invited when I got the invitation to speak, it was the same day that I broke a very long winning streak on Wordle. And so I used that as my way in and to talk about losing is the new winning and my anxiety about giving the speech. But then the hook, and I also, my dad, everybody here knows, but maybe people listening don't know, he was in the hospital when I graduated from Emerson. And he now, at 92, is healthy. So I called him up and I had him on the phone and I invited him to listen in at the beginning. And I asked the students if that was okay. And so my dad was kind of present. And a tradition of ours is on holidays or special occasions to give each other lottery tickets. So I got a lottery ticket for all the kids at the school and taped it under there.
It was an Oprah moment. Look under your seat. It was a lottery ticket, and everyone went crazy.
They were so happy. It was, if anything, could have diffused the tension of that moment of where we're at right now. Give people a lottery ticket. I'm gonna do it as a matter of practice from now on.
And you said, what did you say to them?
I said, maybe someone will win, but most everyone's going to lose, and that's okay because losing is the new winning.
It was poetry. It was Shakespeare.
It was so good.
Oh my God!
And you guys know I'm not really a good I writing. I can do it actually, but it
you'd rather give notes.
I'd rather give notes.
But Randy, tell me,
someone else do the work, and then I could just react.
It's so intimidating, the process. How do you write the speech? How did you approach it? And how long did it take? And what was your process?
It did take a really long time. It took several weeks late at night when the kids were asleep, and I had bits and pieces. And there were certain things, I really wanted to say some political things, and I overwrote it and it was too political. And then I whittled all my politics down to toxic masculinity without really, I talked about Trump in iterations. I just kept whittling it down. And then I also
edit.
I really wanted it to be personal and informal because I knew I could sell that. I know, I'm not going to be some crazy academic. I had to make it me. And so
the mention of taking edibles before the speech, it made sense. It made sense in contact.
There was, and I will tell you, so there was a moment while I was speaking where I was like, I really needed to drink a glass of water. And I brought so much water with me, anxious about dry mouth. And so as I was up there, I could think, and I was thinking, and I had flashes of Marco Rubio at the rebuttal. Remember when he had the rebuttal to the State of the Union, and I thought, and then I messed up some words, and it gave me the opportunity to make an edibles joke, and then I could go and get my bottle. I knew I would get a laugh. And I could grab some water.
So it was the moment of vulnerability that he then just took that and just started running and jumped through the hoop.
Yes, it was really good.
It was actually such a nice weekend for me. I went alone and spent the weekend in Boston, just having memories of living there. And I had my first major love affair there, and I was talking to my therapist this morning, and I said, me, I just talk about the future or this moment. I don't do what everybody does in therapy. I rarely go back. I don't do the work. I'm not going to go in there and, I'm just going to keep moving forward. But anyway, that weekend gave me the opportunity to do that.
You took a moment.
Did anyone win anything? Do you know?
A lot of people didn't open their envelope there. So there was, but back in the green room, some girl won $50. So there's that.
Well, Randy, congratulations and thank you. And,
so incredible. So proud of you. So happy.
Dr. Randy, I should say. I'm so sorry. Yes.
Doctor, thank you all.
You are a Bachelor of Humane Letters.
A doctorate.
Oh, Doctor of Humane Letters. Excusez-moi. All right. Well, thank you, Randy. Thank you, James. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Lisa. Same time, same place next week, our 400th episode. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
wow.